and the Tea Party and the rest of the Republicans. Now tell me what is any different from what the John Birch position was in 1958 to what their position is right now today relative to government.
There's no difference.
There's no difference. Now this is going to get weird.
Except for the party, they were Democrats then, wasn't it?
So what?
Yeah.
They Democrats then.
Who?
Birch them.
No, kind of. Yeah, kind of. But now what you have is a group of people that call themselves Democrats that get named Dixiecrats. Now we've got to go in and understand the politics of the Dixiecrats. But wait a minute. All of this don't mean nothing because civil rights made all this go away, right?
Yeah.
What? I mean, that's what we were marching about, wasn't it? That's what we were building museums for, wasn't it? To suggest that all this is gone. This is a thing of the past. Because now you have integration, don't you? And civil rights. Do you not? But no, wait, what is civil rights? Tell me, somebody tell me exactly what civil rights is.
The non-political rights of the citizen.
The what?
The non-political rights of the
Non-political?
That's what it says on it.
That's civil rights.
Yep.
Okay, so it's the non-political rights. Well, then why did you get caught up in the politics then? So we're gonna have to figure out that the lexicographers in here, in the different dictionaries are gonna have problems with each other's definitions.
Well, wouldn't civil rights also be a synonym for affirmative action?
Could be, I don't know. What do y'all think? Do you think affirmative action was civil rights?
I mean, they got the chance to drive buses.
Who got the chance to drive buses?
People of color.
People of color were already driving buses.
I don't remember in Memphis. I
They had their own station.
Not in Memphis, not in Chicago. There were places that they were driving buses. But everybody tells me that civil rights was about the right to vote. But I seem to remember that in Chicago people were voting already. In Memphis they were voting already. Huh?
Yeah, Chicago was rats.
Oh, so it wasn't about voting, it was about roaches and rats and no food and no money. Living on top of each other. Matter of fact, your children being in the house and all of a sudden the house, the apartment that you live in burning down. And your children still in the apartment building when it's burning down. Because the people who actually owned the apartment building was trying to collect the insurance on the apartment building. And so every night you had 7, 8, 9, 10 fires.
The rat that bit my sister nail.
Ain't that something? So now we have to figure out civil rights comparison to poverty. You know, matter of fact, did y'all know that Martin Luther King marched in Chicago?
Yeah, we got stabbed.
He knew it, huh?
We got stabbed.
Got stabbed. I don't know if he got stabbed in Chicago. Yeah, he got stabbed in New York.
I think this is where he got hit in the head with a brick up in Chicago.
Called Gage Park March.
Right.
Gage Park March. That's right there, hitting the head with a brick. Now this is weird, but people in Chicago were voting. And they were driving buses. It's just that now it's weird. When the bus would make it to a certain street, the Negro drivers get off the bus. And we crossed that street, it was a white driver on the bus now, you know. So it wasn't about driving buses, it wasn't about voting, none of it. But then we got to figure out what do we argue about all the time? Because on one hand, somebody thinks it's all about civil rights. Somebody thinks it's about freedom. Somebody thinks it's about belief. You know, it's just like we say we're arguing about determination. One person says self-determination means the group all thinks alike, which seems to be contradictory to what self means and determination for self means. The thinking for the group. It gets weird, doesn't it? Am I being picky about language?
Mm-mm.
Wait, self-determination is not the ability to define yourself?
As an individual?
Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Where the group come in?
We people.
I never said. I
You
don't
never
know.
said, no, you didn't say. But I do know we discussed, I think last week, we discussed how a great number of people always thought that whenever the term self-determination came up, it was a group talking. It was determination, the black group could determine for itself.
Okay.
Is that right?
I missed the last few classes. So.
Oh, but you don't remember that growing up.
Yeah.
You do remember that. See, this will get confusing if we're not careful. Because, you know, I'll be around here thinking, because I've had people actually come to class and suggest that, well, they never heard that before. And this is weird, because they're the saviors of so-called black people, but they've never experienced what so-called black people are going through every day. I'm finding that one hard to be able to figure out what's going on. You know, in other words, if I'm talking to somebody and they're suggesting that they're involved in this whole thought about consciousness for so-called black people, and yet every time we come to talk about something, they'll say they never experienced that. They don't know anything about that. Have you ever experienced that in our classes?
I've experienced in our classes, and I also remember our congressperson, Harold Ford Jr. He never experienced anything that had to do with Memphis, but he became a congressperson.
Well, now,
for 10
you know,
years.
the reason that he wouldn't want to pool hall in Memphis, Tennessee, is because he'd been taught to be scared to death of that pool hall. You know, there's one down there on Macklemore Bell people.
Right.
You know, and if you wasn't from that corner, you don't go in that pool hall. And so when he was actually running, I offered to take him down to the pool hall. You know, no. He grew up in Washington, D.C.
Went to school in Michigan.
Yeah, he didn't grow up in Memphis, Tennessee. So you're correct. How did people actually vote for him to be their representative?
They didn't dad.
Family name.
Name recognition. So they weren't really voting for him to represent them. They were just doing what his dad had told them to do. Is that right? So is that the political structure of the collective of people that we're talking about? I'm just kind of curious.
I don't know, we got a lot of fathers and sons, you know, one followed the other
Ain't
in
that something?
politics.
Making dynasties and stuff. Huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
But then people had to vote for them, didn't they?
That's right.
So then that means that you must have a collective political ambition or activity, especially in this city, where it seems that all these people, they go out and they actually pull the lever and vote for them. You don't think they were voting for them?
No, I think it's voting, but I don't think they, I think there were a lot of us who, they just didn't know the candidates.
Wait a minute, you said you didn't know the
They
candidates.
didn't know the candidates.
Come on, brother, tell me about what
It
you
was
said.
name recognition strictly.
Okay, no problem, name recognition.
Yeah.
So what do you mean they didn't know the candidates?
Well, what's his policy? What's his plan?
Oh, so they didn't know that.
No.
Do they care? In other words, even right now, are they politically enough aware to care about what anyone is actually capable of thinking about doing? Even when it comes to Obama.
No, I don't think
Are they aware?
I don't think so. No.
So why would they vote for Obama?
Because he's black.
So-called
Well,
black.
wait a minute. You say he's so-called black. Or he's black, whichever it is. How do they know?
Seeing the color of his skin on television.
So that means we're back to where we started. The color of his skin makes him a black man, right?
According to the majority of so-called black people, yes.
Wait a minute, what does it make him for so-called white people?
Black.
All right, so if I'm not mistaken, this is how everybody, his peers, is viewing this, right? Now, we got some real confusion because we're gonna all start arguing about this point. Right?
It is real confusing. His mother is a white Jewish woman.
So if his mother's a white Jewish woman,
Yes, sir.
and if have you ever gone in and read the definitions and the meanings and everything behind race?
No, sir.
You've never read it.
No, sir.
Then how did you know anything about it?
About his mother?
No, about race. if you've never read any of what the meanings are, what the composition, how it was composed, how it was set up in the first place.
I was programmed.
You were programmed.
Yes, sir.
We're back to being programmed again.
I was
How did
programmed.
you get programmed?
Oh,
Through my family first.
Oh, okay, so who programmed your family with that information?
Society.
Who is society?
Your environment.
Your environment, you say. Who
Your
is society?
Your educators.
Your educators. Who is society? Come on, y'all know you never had what? Who's society?
You just asked the question a minute ago, though. You said about when everybody has a different perception of what this determination means, self-determination means.
That's right.
This. You went back and were like, okay, everybody has to. Isn't it important that everybody understands what the true definition of self-determination is? Not what was programmed into them through language or through
Right.
speaking.
Okay.
And I think it is important because, like what you were saying, how did it get instilled in us first? It was through language, symbols, and letters.
Okay.
So I think that's the most important to understand, that you could speak to someone through your language and through the dictionary and through definitions.
All right, so then is that how this child is going to get programmed with whatever nonsense that we might believe about something, like about black people or African people or something? That is this how this child going to be thinking 15 years from now when he gets to be 15 years old? If we're programming nonsense into his brain by telling him through language a lot of definitions that aren't real,
Yeah,
this is how it would happen, right?
yeah.
All right, is this how it happened to all of us? I'm asking y'all, I'm not telling you.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know,
Pretty much?
Yeah.
at 17 years old, and then I want to kill my teacher because they call me a different race.
Oh. So then, were you establishing that a lot of the information that's been going into us, until it's brought to our attention, we think that it's true, and then when it's brought to our attention that it may not be true, we start to question this, we start to have some problems between what we were thinking and now what we're starting to learn.
Yeah, mostly.
Okay. So now when we're talking about self-determination, and this bird, Jonathan, he was learning how to have a sense of self-determination, right?
Sure.
Well, how did he get that self-determination?
Acting on self-determination.
It was acting on self-determination. So, like he said earlier that it was innate, but it wasn't innate for everybody. Is that right?
That's right.
Or was it innate in everybody,
Yeah, I
but
think
everybody
that's
wouldn't
right.
recognize it? Everybody wouldn't realize the innate potential or innate capacities that they actually have. And because he was willing to do whatever's necessary to bring his own potential forward, they were willing to kill him.
That's right.
Isn't that something? Isn't that something? You mean to tell me if one of y'all actually steps out
Yeah,
and says,
right.
you know what, I don't think I want to be black no more.
Yeah.
I'm taking off this dashiki, I'm gonna cut off these dreadlocks, I'm gonna say bye-bye y'all, I'll see you later. You mean to tell me there'll be folks that will be trying to kill folks?
It'd be a
You can
tribunal.
ostracize from your own community
Your own
because.
You'd be an outcast!
Right, exactly. And that's how I grew up like that, because the white people want to accept you because your skin color, they see you as black. But the
Oh,
black people want to accept you because they think you're trying to be white because you're trying to better yourself. Like what he's saying, self-determination.
okay.
You're trying to elevate yourself. I haven't read Jonathan Livingston Seagull, but I kind of get the point. There's
Well,
most
I
people
hope
what's
you,
going on.
I am asking all of you, before you go on to read some of the other books that I'm hoping that you will read, that you read Jonathan, all right, and then Animal Farm. So we can actually discuss between us the difference between individual dynamics relative to the energy of life and collective human dynamics.